Girls, and welcome to another week of Sunday School. I hope you've had a really good week this week. I wonder, do any of you have a hobby? Now, a hobby is something that you do every week or maybe every day for fun that you really enjoy. Tell the people that you're watching with this morning, if you have a hobby, tell them what it is. Well, I'm going to tell you this morning about a hobby of mine. I love to read. If you ask my family or my friends, they will tell you I always have my nose stuck in a book. I take after my mum. I've brought along some books to show you how much I love reading. So I love to read novels, books that are made up, that are really exciting, that I can get just really lost in the story. I feel like I'm inside the book with the characters. I love a made up novel. But I also love my Kindle. And the reason I love my Kindle, oh, the battery's gone, that shows you how much I've been reading, is because I can have lots of books in this Kindle. And especially back in the days when we could go on holiday, I could put lots of books on this, put it in my bag, and I wouldn't have to carry heavy books with me. But the one thing I love about my Kindle is when I get into bed at night and I get tucked in underneath my duvet, I can open up my Kindle and I can prop it up just on the pillow, and I only need one little finger out just to turn the page. And then when I'm finished, I don't even have to get out of bed to turn off the light. So that's what I love about my Kindle. But I also have special books that I collect, and my mummy and I both collect these books. And I like to get a special book. It'll be by a famous author, and maybe a very famous book that you would learn about when you go to big school. And I like to collect them and put them on a shelf in my house. But I also love to read about people's lives, especially the lives of people who are Christians. And I love to know what God has done in their lives and the things they're doing for God. Maybe I like those books because I'm a wee bit nosy. But I have lots of other books in the house too. I have cookery books. Now, I have to say I don't use those books quite so much. And I have atlases that tell me about places in the world, and I have magazines, lots and lots of books. But I want you to think about a book you've read in school. Has your teacher ever asked you to do a book review? That means, have you ever been asked to read a book and then tell your teacher and the people in your class what the book is about? Well, I'm going to read you a book review, and I want you to listen really carefully. When I read this book review, it doesn't just tell you about the book. If you really listen, it tells you the name of the book. God wrote, "I love you." He wrote it in the sky and on the earth and under the sea. He wrote his message everywhere. Because God created everything in this world to reflect him, like a mirror, to show us what he is like, to help us know him, to make our hearts sing. The way a kitten chases her tail, the way red poppies grow wild, the way a dolphin swims. And God put it into words too, and wrote it in a book called the Bible. Now, some people think the Bible is a book of rules, telling you what you should do and shouldn't do. The Bible certainly does have some rules in it. They show you how life works best. But the Bible isn't mainly about you and what you should be doing. It's about God and what he has done. Other people think the Bible is a book of heroes, showing you people you should copy. The Bible does have some heroes in it, but, as you'll soon find out, most of the people in the Bible aren't heroes at all. They make some big mistakes, sometimes on purpose. They get afraid and run away. At times they are downright mean. No. The Bible isn't a book of rules or a book of heroes. The Bible is most of all a story. It's an adventure story about a young hero who comes from a far country to win back his lost treasure. It's a love story about a brave prince who leaves his palace, his throne, everything to rescue the one he loves. It's like the most wonderful of fairy tales that has come true in real life. You see, the best thing about this story is it's true. There are lots of stories in the Bible, but all the stories are telling one big story. The story of how God loves his children and comes to rescue them. It takes the whole Bible to tell this story. And at the centre of the story, there is a baby. Every story in the Bible whispers his name. He's like the missing piece in a puzzle, the piece that makes all the other pieces fit together. And suddenly you can see a beautiful picture. Did you listen for the name of the book? That's right. I was telling you about the Bible. I want to talk to you this morning about the Bible. Why do we read it? Why in Sunday school are you taught from the Bible? Well, one of Jesus' disciples was called John. And Jesus picked John and his brother James to be 2 of the 12 special friends that helped Jesus. But they had a nickname. They were called the Sons of Thunder. When John first met Jesus, he was easily angered. He might have had a bit of a bad temper. But John spent 3 years with Jesus, and Jesus changed his life. When you hear about John in the Bible, or maybe if you ask an older Christian about John the disciple, you will probably hear them say, not that he was a son of thunder, but that he was the disciple that Jesus loved. In fact, Jesus asked John, when he was dying on the cross, would John look after Jesus' mother? Jesus changed John's life. What a change! Bad-tempered, grumpy, easily angered, to the disciple Jesus loved. God even used John to write God's words down in the Bible. John wrote one of the Gospels. The Gospels are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John at the start of the New Testament. And he wrote 3 more books further on in the Bible called 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John. And John writes in his Gospel in chapter 20 and verse 31. He writes why we have the Bible. He says, "These things are written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name." You see, of all these books I've shown you this morning, the Bible is the most important book because it tells us about the most important person, Jesus. But you know, John tells us in his Gospel, it's not enough just to read this book. You have to believe it. It's not enough just to know all the stories about Jesus. You have to believe in Jesus. But what have we to believe? We've to believe that Jesus is God's Son, that he came to this world and lived the perfect life that we couldn't live, that he died on the cross for our punishment, and that he came back to life, and that he's coming back one day. And why should we believe this about Jesus? Well, John tells us, so that we can have life, true life, the life God meant us to have. A life that has Jesus changing us, like he did with John. A life that has Jesus walking with us and being with us forever. I want you to keep reading. Keep reading all those books your teacher's given you, the books you have in the house. But most importantly, keep reading the Bible. But don't just read it, believe what it says. If you don't have a Bible in your house, ask your mummy or your daddy to contact our church, Great Victoria Street Baptist, and one of the Sunday school teachers or Pastor Steve will get you a Bible so that you can read it and you can believe what it says. Thank you so much for listening and have a really good week this week. Bye.